I work with people like owners, entrepreneurs. Sometimes you get into this business and you get trapped. My passion is like, how do I help other business owners like myself basically live the life they want to?
That's the problem my guest today spent his career solving. So please take some notes.
Today's guest is Fernando Delgado, an entrepreneurial operating system implementer at EOS Worldwide, where he helps business owners scale their companies without burning out. He's also the owner of USA Ninja Challenge, a kids fitness franchise based in Orlando.
We were blessed in the sense that we learned so many homeschoolers in Florida. Our business model was based on afternoon classes, parties, and camps. And suddenly, you're paying rent for that full day, no matter what. So we were able to open in the mornings now. So now we have a completely new cohort, which is homeschoolers are coming in, basically using the Ninja Challenge as a key physical education. So that was not even baked in our projections in our business models. So it works out great. Now we have a huge percentage of our business coming from that, which is completely unique and different.
Really excited about the USA Ninja concept. As you were building this with your partners, what were some of the first things that you implemented to make sure that they were set up for success?
That's a great question. The things we did before joining and starting here.
Welcome back to the Owner Seat Podcast, the show where fitness and wellness operators, franchisors, and franchisees get the real playbook on what it takes to scale with clarity, not chaos. Today's episode is for every owner who has hit a ceiling. Your business is making money, but it's not buying you time. You feel stuck. You want to grow, but growth just multiplies the problems you do not yet have systems to handle. That's the big thing, systems. You want to raise prices or you risk hurting retention. You want to add more classes or services and you create operational debt. You want to hire a consultant and you often get shiny ideas instead of a cadence your team can actually run every week. That's the problem my guest today spent his career solving. So please take some notes, transcribe this, and save this one. Fernando Delgado has built his operating perspective across both corporate scale and hands-on ownership like you all. He was the global head of marketing and CMO for CSL Plasma, where he built brand and MarTech systems across more than 330 U.S. centers and international markets. He's worked for, these brands, Procter Gamble, Gillette, and he later served as the chief growth officer at Bondvet Private Equity, leading marketing, client experience, innovation, and virtual operations at the executive level. This is exciting, and I'm really excited to talk about this. He also runs USA Ninja Challenge. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. A kids fitness concept and now helps founders scale as a business and executive coach and EOS professional implementer. And if you haven't heard of EOS, this is the show you need. You need to be implementing the framework within your business. So owners, listen up. Fernando, welcome to the Owner Seat Podcast, sir.
Thank you so much, Albert. What a privilege to be in your show and be, sharing this time with you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Well, shoot, you just got off a cruise at the moment of this recording with your family. You had a great time. So I just wanted to say thank you for you. I'd be taking a nap or something because I know with kiddos and all of that, but I'm sure you had a great time. But thank you so much for being on.
No, my pleasure. It was a great time. We had great with the family, but happy to be here today.
So good. Well, let's get into this EOS piece because I find, and there's been many on my show that introduce and have used the framework and they've seen their business tremendously grow. But some others that have been on the show or those watching will constantly DM me on LinkedIn and say, hey, what is that? I've never heard of it. And so I'm looking forward to spending time with you to talk about that because you are an EOS professional implementer. And as a partner and owner operator of USA Ninja Challenge, you're wearing a couple different hats, right? Especially within your career. You've learned to do that well. And I know you have an engineering background. So as you think about it that way, what do you see actually break first when an owner is trying to scale? They're going through that growth phase or they're saying, I got to scale this. Is it strategy? Is it their people? Or is it that day-to-day operating cadence?
It definitely depends on the business, obviously, right? I mean, it depends on what type of either, creating a product, you're actually performing a service. So it depends on where you are. Everybody joins it starts a business because they're passionate about something, whether helping people and, providing a special service or creative enough that decided to put together a product with a partner or with themselves. So I think one of the most important things is understanding, where are you in your journey, in your process? I mean, how unique that service is that you actually provide or do. And I mean, sounds cliche, but it's understanding really, really well your audience. Who is it that you're really serving? Who's your pay customer? And, what is that product you're doing? How different, or not is for your competition? And then what differentiates you from them, right? So I think once you
Yeah.
go through that process many, many times, I mean, I'm speaking a little bit from the EOS side, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that, but 80% of the issues that most owners have is related to people. I mean, those are the bulk of the issues is you may not have the right people in the right seats, for what you need to do. Primarily, you probably heard that phrase before, but it's true. And that's where, stats are there for a reason. It's about 80% are people issues. If you have really good people with you and they know what they're doing, you can solve probably some of the other things. But I think most of the time is that. Obviously, strategy plays a role, some of the other things you mentioned. But the number one issue we see across the board for most of the companies that I get the pleasure to help is people.
I love that. And we're going to come back to the people side. I do want to talk about brand because you have a really impressive, very diverse background. I mentioned Gillette and Procter and Gamble. So you have the CPG experience, but you also work for a company within the life sciences industry, right? CSL Plasma, and then later for private equity. I mean, that's a lot of variety there. So when you think about brand and marketing and scaling it, as you did at your previous organizations, for those listening, typically they're single unit operators in the fitness and wellness space, or they're franchisor, a multi-unit franchisee. When they start thinking about branding, what needs to be true operationally before they start spending more money on brand and brand awareness?
Great question. And I mean, like you said, I was lucky enough to start my career in really large corporations with, tons of budget. But I think the fundamentals were always the most important things. It's like really understanding, what product or service you do, what is it that is unique to you and differentiates you, and keep it simple. People, simplicity is one of the biggest things to do. And I mean, really simplifying things and keep it simple so people can recall it, can remember. Obviously, what is it that that you do and how that name tags into what you do, how clearly that benefit that you provide as a product or service is there. So that clarity simplicity is fundamental. I mean, is the what we call it in P&G is the what, what is it that you do? And that what becomes what is your main benefit? And what is those reasons the customers have to believe in your product or service? Once you have that, you have 80% of what you really need. So fundamentals are clarity on that benefit, simplifying it, making sure it's clear, concise, and truly without, sometimes we try to throw spaghetti at the wall, all that stuff that we want to be or become. People get confused. What is it that you really stand? When you see a name that, is catchy and it tags back to either the product or the benefit, people recall it, and that makes it easier. So sometimes we try to be everything for everybody, and that's a challenge that we see in a lot of brands. So make sure you know who you're serving, who's your main customer, your main target, and that product or service should be, easy, telegraphic. Say, oh my God, I'm solving that issue, and just keep it simple. I mean, I think that's simplicity seems to be the solution for a lot of the problems, but it's one of the hardest things to do as owners, as
No, we
managers, as
overcomplicated.
presidents.
For
We tend
sure.
to
And I'm
complicate a
still,
lot of stuff.
I'm always trying to do that as well. So I can relate with everyone probably nodding their head. It's like, we just got to continue to make it more simple so that the end user completely understands what it is that you do and what to expect. I want to switch gears. I was really excited about the USA Ninja concept. I know you partnered up with some family members around this fitness concept. Love the focus on the kiddos. Like you, have 3 kiddos myself. They're 8, 6, and 3. So I bet you this is perfect for them, right? And I actually need them to go there so they can burn off some energy. But as you were building this with your partners, what were some of the first things that you implemented to make sure that they were set up for success?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the USA Ninja Challenge is a franchise. We're just one of the franchisees. The first one's in Florida, actually. I'm in Orlando, Florida, for those listening. And honestly, when my brother and I look at all these different businesses, one of the things we really love and we have passion for, healthy. I mean, it was about kids as number one. Yeah, I was thinking about 3 different themes: kids, adults, seniors, and pets. And we chose kids. I mean, I have 3 boys. My brother has 2. We've been athletes all our lives, and we love the model. I mean, honestly, it was all about how do we keep, the next generation healthy, active, and building confidence. So what we do, USA Ninja Challenge, very simple. It's an obstacle course game for kids. If you think about the Ninja Warriors, show type of thing, that's exactly it, but for kids, and we basically focus kids between 2.5 years old to teenagers to 16, 17 years old. Most of our kids, the bulk is really in the elementary school, between 10, the first grade or kindergarten to like sixth grade, or those are like 80% of our kids. And we do classes, we do camps. We literally have this campus in spring break now. And we're running, parties. And we also, one of the things we do is we partner with schools, with churches, with, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And every other Friday, almost a month, we offer basically we get money back. We host, we basically have a couple hours and, we collect money and we basically give back to the community. So that way is another way to do marketing by saying, hey, come in, check us out, have 2 hours, have fun, and do that. But everything is done with a lot of, obviously, passion. It's basically building confidence, strength, and ability for kids. We call it one obstacle at a time. And it's progressive, kind of like what you see on typical, the karate, all the martial arts. You have different belts. We have different T-shirts. You go from yellow all the way to purple.
I love it. Oh, my kids would love that. So we need to figure out if there's one near here in Houston. You have, as I mentioned, the CPG background, right, at Procter Gamble, Gillette, Darden, and there's a lot of. I'm realizing. I actually have a guest. Actually, I don't think the episode's real. Oh no, it is released here recently. And take a look around. It's called Alex RX. It's an amazing concept that just came out here. They just launched, and I wanted to make sure that people were familiar with this retail or consumer product. So you have a lot of experience there, and there seems to be a lot of people in the fitness and wellness space that are wanting to get more involved in that industry to find different revenue verticals. What are your thoughts, as for those that are listening in the studio or boutique space, they're thinking about pricing, they're thinking about packaging. I mean, when you think about unit economics, like how can they best position themselves, one, so that their cost of goods sold aren't through the roof and they're actually making some margin? Because I look at a lot of P&Ls and most of the time I'm like thinking, why are you even doing this? It's not even worth it. And typically when I clean up the books, these owners find out they're actually upside down. It's not looking good, right? And they don't consider theft and shrink and all of those things. How does an owner in the fitness and wellness space protect themselves here and actually, amplify this vertical to make good money?
That's a great question too. I mean, I'll tell you, for us, the biggest cost in our business really is your rent and your employees, your salaries. I mean, those are the big two costs. One is variable, the other is almost static. Your rent's almost growing, but not that much. Those are the biggest two things. And the model that we have is a membership model. Yeah, you buy, basically you're a member for a year and you pay on a monthly basis. We are, one of the things we did obviously before joining and starting here is benchmarking, really understanding your competition. And your competition, I mean, honestly, on what we do is hard because, we're really complementary, but at the same time feels like competition to, gym clubs, gymnastics, soccer clubs, other activities. The way we position it was, hey, we want your kid to be 1 day a week, and make sure that he or she continues to be in ballet, it continues to be in soccer and baseball and some of the other sports, because this sport is complementary to what they do. So I'm not trying to take them away from what they're doing already. And sometimes it's hard to squeeze one more sport for parents, but they realize the value we bring. So benchmarking, understanding where are you, it's like compared to other sports, compared to other things, are you competitive with your pricing, with your proposition? What type of value you're really offering? What we do with our pricing is our members get a discount on parties, for example, versus many else can go onto our website and book a party on Saturday or Sunday. So you got some membership privileges or perks, and that's helping making sure that we keep those people coming back often. And definitely they're super, super valuable. We use referrals for new members too. So that basically nothing like word of mouth and someone coming in and bringing a friend or someone they know, and then the recommendations. So we learn also to where to spend the money marketing wise. It's hard. Any new business, especially ours, is a niche. Very few people know about it. What is it that you do? Even people get confused. Like, oh, is it martial arts? No, we're not martial arts. So But I think back to the earlier question is the fundamentals. So understanding, what is your bare minimum? So you cover all your costs. Obviously, what is the salary you're going to take or not take potentially your first year. And we were blessed too, in the sense that we learned. I mean, there's so many homeschoolers in Florida, in Orlando area. So that was not even baked in our projections in our business models. So our business model was baked on afternoon classes, parties, and camps. And suddenly, you're paying rent for the full day, no matter what. So we were able to open in the mornings now. So now we have a complete new cohort, which is homeschoolers are coming in and basically using the Ninja Challenge as a I would call it as a PE, physical education. So it works out great. Now we have a huge percentage of our business coming from that, which is completely unique and different and complements our parties as well. So understanding where you are in the mix, where you competition, understanding are you going to compete with them or be a complement to that, making sure your pricing covers obviously that. And then I think I'm a proponent of, acquisition is a huge fundamentals of your business, and it's a funnel. I mean, people graduate from this and move on. You always need to keep bringing people. So referrals are huge for us. And then partnership with schools. That's the main source. Where are the kids coming from? School. So we're really going after the schools and basically making sure that they know who we are, what we do, and how can we actually help them. It's all about help first. So serve others, help first.
So good. Now, with your experience, I was on a couple marketing calls over the last 7 days, and I'll tell you, there was one marketing agency I was chatting with, and they help a certain business with SEO, and now they're calling it AIO or AIEO. And I'll tell you, Google ads and Meta ads and LinkedIn ads, and they have the data. I mean, they had all the attribution from, CPL to customer acquisition costs. They could tell me, because I get very frustrated sometimes, how does this lead to the client and the dollar? And they did perfect. Then I was talking to another agency that does more of the organic, right? The posting and the videos, let's say LinkedIn or Instagram and Facebook. And I asked the exact same questions. And there was you should have seen the eyes that were looking at me like, what do you mean? We get likes and engagements. And I said, got it. How does that lead to utilization, and what's the CAC going on, and how many clients and dollars have we've actually generated from this? And there just seemed to be well, can you let us know? I'm like, what? So it was a very interesting conversation. What did you learn throughout your experience, not only in the marketing side, but in the private equity side, as you're looking at those things? And let's even talk about, there's a huge cycle going on over the next 3 years. Private equity is coming into fitness and wellness, and they're rolling things up. And I know for a fact they're doing due diligence on the marketing line item. Is what is the attribution? What is this leading to? What are your thoughts there? And how do owners that are listening start thinking about it that way, like brand funds and marketing spend?
Back to depends. If this market was flooded with other ninja courses and classes and things that like we do, it would probably be different. But my biggest challenge was like, no one knows who we are. We're a complete virgin market. No one knows this. So for us was honestly a lot of understanding. It's like literally where are these people going to come from? Because I'm not a owner of a preschool, or I'm not in the school education system. That would have been easier for me to say, oh, I got tons of kids and parents I can send. So for us was really identifying kind of what my earlier points, understanding your audience, who you're serving, and obviously is the decision makers are the parents here, but how do you get to them? So a lot for us when you think about marketing, and we've seen the most effective marketing is making sure we are where those parents are. So yes, we are on Facebook, and specifically on those channels specifically that they visit, the homeschoolers, where, our age groups, our kids and so forth. Those basically we try to be part of those schools and their social networks. The other is participate in events. We literally are making sure we're on the Fall Fest. We're on the trunk or treats. In those places where we have, the tons of parents and kids say, oh my God, I have no idea you're literally a few blocks from us. So you have no idea you are right here on my corner. And it's basically being exposed to that. We have our bare minimums, obviously, in SEO. We're paid search too. It's seasonal. We also have seasonality in our business, like in almost any gym. So we're making sure we're trying to be part of that. We're off the grid in the summer because no one's there, those type of things. But then we plus up or down on some terms for either parties, events, camps, so we have our strategy for that piece. But honestly, when we're sponsoring schools, we're basically trying to be with the, middle schools, or in this case, elementary schools for us. That's where we have $100 where we put it. We're making sure that we are in front of them. And then now in those, events where we know we're going to have this homeschoolers. So that's really where we're spending our money. We see it back. We get basically some flyers or coupons where we know where they're coming from. I mean, it's old fashioned. I work with very tech, super high competitive companies that know that data level of data. I don't have necessarily all those data. We have CRM. That's one of the main tools that we use to see who opens, how many clicks take them to get to view and book that class or party. But really, it's, street marketing now becomes smarter every time. And what I'm trying to do is help other organizations. And that is basically amplifying our efforts. It's not your typical marketing. I've been in the typical marketing for so many years, but I understand the grassroots marketing. It's honestly done right is what people is really bringing it. We're a local business, one unit. We don't have that many units yet. So scalability there for us makes no sense. But we have to play on some paid, organic, social, but events is huge for us.
Amazing. Well, I know we're hard pressed for time and you just got off a cruise, but I did want to ask you because you really done a great job here. And I have like a dozen more questions that I could ask you. So we're probably going to have to have
come
you
back another time too. Would love to.
Yes. You've connected the dots for me, and I know for the listeners around this brand strength and marketing strength, but also the operational fixes and cadences and sequences, right, that need to be in play for this all to work so that the owner doesn't have to be necessarily being ran by the business. They could actually run the business. And a large part in that is the EOS framework that you coach on, and you lead a lot of clients. And so how can people reach out to you, learn more about you if they're interested in actually implementing this, learning more about it?
I can leave you that information underneath here, but I work for the largest firm in the world that actually implements EOS. It's called the Profit Recipe. So it's my name, Fernando, at theprofitrecipe.com. That's where we are. Honestly, that's what I do. It's my passion. I learn about EOS. My passion is like, how do I help other business owners like myself, basically live the life they want to. Sometimes you get into this business and you get trapped. You get trapped into it. You have to make all of the decisions you feel you cannot delegate. And there's so many great tools that EOS helps you with. And you can do this by yourself, by the way, or you can hire an implementer that comes and works with you in your organization. I work with people like you, owners, entrepreneurs that want more freedom, want to, either scale or grow their business. And we give them tools. I'm part with that journey with them. That's what I do now. It is super fulfilling. But yeah, Fernando at theprofitrecipe.com, and happy to connect and help in any way I can.
Well, we're so lucky to have you jump on. We're going to have you come back on because I really like to break down, especially for the first 90 days as some people are scaling on how they use EOS. But I'm sure they'll reach out to you before we do that. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Fernando, thank you so much. This has been another episode of the Owner Seat Podcast. I'm your host, Albert Ramos, and our episodes drop every Monday and Friday on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple, on all of the major platforms. So please check us out and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Fernando, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Albert. What a pleasure.
My pleasure.